Hello, welcome to Damru Talks, and today we will be talking on the spiritual and scientific explanation of 32 forms of Ganesha and a nakshatra, a celestial connection. This is an introduction lecture, so we can now start this. Just a second.
कोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा.
Thank you.
Sure.
So yeah, if you can, everybody can go on mute. So the first thing that I would like to tell is like Ganesha, we always, when we see the murtis, we see a broken tusk, a teeth, right? One of the sparks I had was there are 32 forms of Ganesha and 32 teeth in adult humans. Another interesting thing that is there is children have 20 milk teeth. So those are the temporary teeth which fall off as children grow and the adult teeth comes. The interesting connection with nakshatras for those who know astrology is that the 21st nakshatra is Uttarashada and the Devta is Vishwa Devtas. So I think those who know astrology might be able to get the connection of that. But we will also revisit teeth later. So there are a lot of questions that arose in my mind when I started to look into how the Indic knowledges were written and how to actually get into learning the Vedas. So I just picked up the Vedas and tried to read it, and actually, frankly, it kind of made sense, but I was not able to connect with it at all. So I tried to look into how actually the structure of it is. So this is how I describe it. So we being very scientific and trying to be defining ourselves to be very scientific these days, we need some evidence that we can see, some things that we can hear, and then based on that we make some conclusions on which we will be able to understand the insights of this, what I call the Hiranyagarbha, the golden cosmic womb of Gnana. So,
second volume
can you just 1 second if I can put on. Okay. So the way it is arranged is Smritis and Shrutis. So the very first thing actually, if you think what came was the Vedas. But as we know, we transitioned from Satyug to Kalyug, right? So our comprehensions started to degrade in such a way that extra things were added so that we can actually really understand the Vedas in the real sense, being it spiritual, scientific, whichever way you want to see in order to improve your lives, right? So one thing over here, as we are discussing about nakshatras, what we are doing is we are using Jyotisha, which is also known as eye of the Vedas. The outer circle that you see, the Kalpa, Shiksha, Chandas, Vyakrana, and Nirukta, and Jyotisha, that are called Vedangas, the Angs of the Vedas. So we will look into the Jyotish, the eye of the Vedas, and we can only look from the outside, right? There are a lot of people who say, okay, you can directly go ahead and read Upanishads and it will all make sense to you. But tell me, from the point of view where the human is standing, will you be able to understand the Vedas without taking a peek from one of the Vedangas and Puranas in the folklore? Without that, you can't actually really reach the Upanishads or the Vedas. So we have to go through these sikshas in a way. Now going next, there is a story of Shiva and Parvati when Shiva is teaching uh, the way of enlightenment to the rishis. There is a story about just yeah. There is story of actually uh, conflicting with Shiva that there might be more ways than 114 ways to achieve enlightenment. So I don't want to go more into that story because it is pretty much known and you can actually find that story. We have a lot of things to cover. So there are basically 114 ways it is said that you can achieve enlightenment. 108 chakras or 108 ways or 108 padas, that is 27 nakshatras and the 4 padas make it 108. That is something that is available for all of us to work with. We know all the stories and we know kind of all the stories that are written in Ravana Samhita. So those are the ways to get enlightenment by practicing and learning those stories and gaining wisdom from them. Then there are these 4 chakras that you cannot really work with, but it happens by itself. So what is that? So that, my hypothesis is basically it is the Abhijit Nakshatra. Though that nakshatra is small, it had the story of Abhijit Nakshatra goes that Sri Krishna had to take Abhijit Nakshatra out because Sahadeva told Muhurata to Duryodhan that how he can win the war. So Krishna had to take it out so that the Pandavas can win the war. So in a way, if you look at it, when we are going in the descending from Satyug to Kalyug, Abhijit went out of connection in a certain way that now those things can't be worked with, right? So that's why in North Indian astrology, it is not even used as a nakshatra, but in Muhurat, it is used still today. So that happens by itself. I think the Abhijit Muhurat comes somewhere around in the noon time. Then there are 2 chakras that happen outside that you can really, there is nothing, it all happens by itself. Right? So what is that? That is the Purusha and the Prakriti. So that gives 2. So the divine, that is divine masculine and divine feminine. Now, divine masculine or divine feminine is not exactly male and female as we think about it. Okay. It is somewhat different. It's kind of way, it's a whole different topic that we can have a whole 1 hour, 2 hour session on that also. But this is how 114 chakras count comes, and the connection with the nakshatras come over here. So if anybody has question or something, they can post on the chat and I will keep on seeing it in the middle. So I can answer them if possible at that time.
And Rishi, are you sharing some slides or planning to?
Yes, you are not seeing the slides?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should have told me. I'm very, very sorry, guys. Okay, are you able to see now?
Yes.
Okay, very sorry. So let's go, let's have a quick review of that thing. what we went through. So 32 teeth in adult humans, 20 milk teeth, and the connection with the Uttarashada Nakshatra, the Devta, Vishwa Devtas. For others, in a way, in short, what it is basically a combination of all the 21st nakshatras. This nakshatra has a combined knowledge of that. That is what it is saying. So this is the Hiranyagarbha of how the golden cosmic womb of Gnana will look like. So this is the human, we are standing over here. Now if our viewpoint is over here, how can we directly peek into the Upanishads or the Vedas without using all the Vedangas as our crutches, you might want to say it, our spiritual crutches or spiritual way of learning it. Because we being very scientific, we want all the different kinds of evidences. So this is the story, this is about the 114 chakras, what I talked about. Now going to the next slide. I don't know how to really pronounce this in a nice way, the Sanskrit. So I would leave it. I will try to get somebody and might be overlap the Sanskrit mantra before this slide. But what this is one of the book from Swami Vivekananda, Purnamada Purnamidam. So what it says is, completeness is that, completeness is this. From completeness, completeness comes forth. Completeness from completeness taken away, completeness to completeness added, completeness alone remains. Okay? So this is a very profound statement actually. We will actually try to understand it. What he said that even if all the Vedas, if everything, all the Upanishads, everything goes away and only in the world there is this 2-line verse, that's enough to actually sprout the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedangas back again. Right? So in a way, what it is saying, if you try to think about it, is, right? There is something called the infinite. And we live in the infinite. And that infinite is what we call God or the Supreme or something above us. Now, we can't be living outside of it because it is infinite. So we are in the infinite. So now, this whole thing is having one noun, 2 pronouns and 3 verbs, that's it. And the 4th is the rhythm of poetry. Poetry and dance of Shiva with the rhythm, so that makes it so profound. In today's world, if somebody wants to understand, so my take on the above is, it's like from singularity to singular, coiled back into singularity. That is the way we actually live. That's the way of our existence. So if you want to read that book from him, it is on Amazon for just $3.99. But it's definitely as complicated as what is in a way written over there. So it's really requires a very recursive mind, I would like to say, in order to understand what's written in that book. So now you see the human DNA as a spiral shape. The sea life, the very first life that emerged on Earth was a sea life. And it had basically the spiral shapes, as you can see. Galaxies have spiral shapes. Right? So that is something to keep in mind, because we will go through it once again. Now everybody know how Ganesha got his head, elephant head. The story of Shiva cutting his head, Ma Parvati getting angry at Shiva, and then Shiva had to send his Ganas on the hunt to find a head, and whichever head came first, they got to Shiva, and then Shiva joined the head to the body, and that's how Ganesha was born with the elephant head. With that, Shiva also stated because of his mistake what he did, and to calm Parvati, he stated all rituals, all pujas, all ventures should start with Ganesha. Right? Now, all rituals, all pujas, all ventures should start with Ganesha, but every ritual is done for a different purpose. So, in astrology world, we normally there is a conflict, right? That which nakshatra goes first. So, well, it depends on what is the ritual or what is the venture or what is the puja you are trying to do. Based on that, that is the nakshatra that will go in a way first. Now remembering this story, let's try to peek into what is our connection with Ganesha. Each and every person, doesn't matter who they are, which race they are, whether they are males, females, LGBTQ, or IVF conception, it really doesn't matter. In all pureness of heart, right? This is the process that happens with everybody. It really doesn't matter. So for LGBTQ, for somebody might have any objection or something or anything, and to show that how much scientific the Indic knowledges were. If you look into Vishnu Sahasranama, Swami Chinmayanand's book is there on that. On page 122, one of the names of Vishnu is Shikhandi. Shikhandi, the one who wears Shikhandi, meaning the peacock feather. In Mahabharata, we all know Shikhandi stood in front of Krishna on his chariot in order to defeat Bhishma. She stood with the dharma of the time in order to try to defeat Bhishma. Okay, somebody might say, oh, it was revenge or something, but whatever it is, she did what was required at that time to follow the dharma, to defeat the adharma. Now, if you look at the image over here, right, this is, it shows that how a sperm actually fuses into an ovum. Now you go through the different phases of it, and at the very end, what happens is the sperm's head or that gets severed and gets infused into the egg. Right? So in a way, what it is a yog. The ovum is basically, the ovum and a sperm are in yog with each other. So that is how the conception happens. So as we go forward in our lives, in physical and metaphysical ways, we gather extra heads of ignorance, arrogance, maya, and the biggest of all, mithya. Okay. So we will, as we go, we will more understand on how Ganesh, 32 forms of Ganesha helps us to understand how to actually spiritually evolve. So now let's see the mappings of nakshatras and Ganeshas. And for those who don't know astrology, please forgive me. You can just see it, but most of the people who looks into the muhurats will at least know quite a bit of some of these things. So there are 28 nakshatras and 4 padas, that's equal to 32. So there are 28 Ganpatis for nakshatras and 4 Ganpatis for the padas. So the mapping goes like this: Ashwini, Bala Ganpati; Bharni, Taruna Ganpati; Kritika, Bhakti Ganpati, and so on. Because this won't finish in one lecture, so we'll look at it, but we will look at the other one where we see the padas. So pada 1 is Sinha Ganpati. Pada 2 is Yoga Ganpati. Pada 3, Durga Ganpati. Pada 4, Sankata Ganpati, Sankathara Ganpati. Now, Pada 1, Sinha Ganpati. So, Pada 1 is associated with Dharma or Adhyatmic or metaphysical. Okay. Some of you might have heard something else, but this is all these are open to questions, and I actually frankly encourage people to challenge me with proper research, so that whatever mistakes have been done in my understanding also can be fixed. But this is what my take is on this. And also the nakshatra padas are also called chatuspada. So the first pada is associated with dharma, adhyatmic or metaphysical. Metaphysical means what? We have philosophies, values, morals. It's all metaphysical, right? These names, Adhyatmik, Adhibhautik, Adhidevik, for everybody's reference, I have taken it from Popular Hindu Astrology by Kalinath Mukherjee. I will try to share that book with you for those who are interested, because this book is no more available under publication. So the second pada is with Artha. Right? Adi Bhautik, terrestrial. So in a way, trying to accumulate. Right? The third is with Kama, desires, Adi Devik, or heavenly. So the fourth pada, which is let's hear a story of Ganesha and Kartikeya first. But it is about moksha. Okay. So the story goes like this, that there was a mango, and there was just one mango, and Kartikeya and Ganpati, being brothers, both of them wanted the mango which was got by Lord Narayan. Now they both wanted mango, they don't want to cut it, and both want the full mango. So Shiva told them, let's have a race, and that race has to be that you have to take 3 rounds of the world and come back to us to claim the mango. Now Ganpati, connected to elephant, you all know, cannot run as fast as the peacock on the vehicle of Kartikeya. So as soon as Shiva told that, Kartikeya just flew away to take the 3 rounds of the world. So in a way, you can try to map it to that, well, he involved in the world beyond. Okay. Whereas Ganesha said, well, for me, my world is my father and mother, because that is where I come from. Now, in astrology, we hear a lot of these devtas as Vishwa devtas and Vishwakarma and all that, right? So, the thing is, even if you look at Vishnu Sahasranama, Vishwa has not been described as the world. Vishwa has been described as your existence. Nobody else's existence, your existence. So as you basically try to go into the spiral like this, the Vishwa Devtas keep on basically it's evolving in a different sense. Okay, so this pada, the moksha pada, it exists for us because we are not as smart as Ganpati actually. These exist for us because 1, 2, 3 padas exist for us. So pada 4 is one of the most important thing that actually people should see if they want to grow spiritually. So this is a new thing that I have come up with, and I will give this credit to actually Swami Chinmayanand's book Vishnu Sahasranama. So there is one book I really recommend everybody to actually buy it. So in that there is I think I forgot to put the page number of where the definition of this is, but I will try to put it later and update the slide. So Nakshatra Padas or Chatuspadas, in this the first term we say is associated with Dharma, Adhyatmic, metaphysical. That is all fine, but how to connect it with all the stories that we hear in Puranas, Maha-Itihas and all that, right? So the first is Dharma is basically Vasudeva. The second Artha is Sankarsana. Now the second pada, the Sankarsana, Shiva is said to be meditating on this pada, the Sankarsana pada. We'll come to that in the next slide once again. And the third pada is Pradyumna, and the fourth pada is Aniruddha. Now those who know the family structure or the family tree of Krishna will understand what is the connection. Okay, I have given it over here. So this is actually called Chaturvyuha, fourfold manifestation. So in Vishnu Sahasranama, in Swami Chinmayanand's book, page 56, he has written Vishnu is one who manifests in 4 mighty powers. Right? So what he has is the knowledge of the past, the present, the future, the eternal. That is what is Krishna is. So what is first pada? That's Vasudeva. Now Vasudeva, now for every one of us, what is our brightest jewel? Is actually the learnings from our past is our brightest jewel. Whatever your life might have gone through doesn't matter. That is all your learning. That is what is your brightest jewel. Even the darkest of your days are the learning we just have to polish it, shine it, let it go through some crunching through that sandpaper to shine it. That is when you will know that dharma is based on duty and requirement of the day. Right? So that is learnings of the past. Then the base of any creation is the past. Right? That is the dynamics of it. Sankarsana. So Balrama with a farmer plow in a way signifies tick-tock, the clock. Right? The reason for our existence is present. Shiva eternally meditates on this form. Now Shiva, why he meditates eternally in this form? Let's say if Shiva opens his eyes, don't we know what happens? He does the Tandav, and that comes the Pralay. So we should be thankful to Shiva that he meditates in this form, and we should learn from Shiva. to meditate in this form. So it is the present, it's only the present where things can change, where you can basically, that's the pivot point of the Damru, where you can basically make your rhythm, dance to that rhythm. And the very irony of present, the word present is, by the time I say present, it has already become the past. So it has no beginning, it has no end, it is endless, it is Ananta. Now the third pada is Pradyumna. Pradyumna was son of Lord Shri Krishna. So that is the future. Why it is the future? Well, he was the incarnation of Kamdev. Desires. The desire is the only reason for our existence. Only when you desire for moksha, you will actually understand the importance of the fourth pada. Okay. So, the desire for moksha. Now let's see Aniruddha. Now Aniruddha, actually the meaning of it is uncontrollable, unrestrained. So in a way it signifies free will, without obstacles. Right? So there are no obstacles for you to peek into the eternal. The only thing is, the only problem, if I might say, is that we don't have the will to peek into it. And Aniruddha, his son, was son of Pradyumna and was married to Usha, sunrise, bringer of light. So the fourth pada, if people look into their fourth pada, they will now understand why they sometimes suffer so much because of the fourth pada, or they gain so much about fourth pada. Let's say somebody needs to have a will of having infinite wealth, right? Yeah, they will get it, but they will miss so many other things that eventually they will realize that wealth, or let's say, for example, some people have problems with material pleasures. Eventually they will realize, and that's when they open the door from Kal to Mahakal, from relative time, which we tend to live in, forgetting that actually our existence is in the absolute dimension of time. So it is actually, in a way, if you look at it, it's a circle. You will take on taking reverse till you don't start living in the absolute dimension of time, the fourth dimension of time, or the what they say is enlightenment. So coming back to teeth, 4 teeth in human are called wisdom teeth. Now the fourth pada is the moksha pada. And 4 teeth in humans are called wisdom teeth. Nowadays, people take out wisdom teeth as soon as they basically get it or something like that. I don't know whether they should really do that or not, because now if we can see that there is some connections of nakshatra energies with teeth. So most probably each and every teeth is mapped to one or the other nakshatra. And there are actually 4 canine teeth also. How all this teeth goes, I have not done much research into it, but it will be very interesting for if there is any dentist over here, or whosoever is watching video later. It will be interesting to find out. So coming back to first pada, Siha Ganpati. Why I am coming back to first pada, Siha Ganpati, instead of Ashwini Nakshatra is, for those who don't know, these padas 1, 2, 3, 4 belongs to each nakshatra. So each nakshatra is composed of 1, 2, 3 and 4 padas. So it is divided. So 1 is divided into 4. So Ashwini Nakshatra has 4 padas, Bharani Nakshatra has 4 padas, so on. So the first pada is Siha Ganpati. So he is being described as white in color, rides a lion, displays another lion in one hand, symbolizing strength and fearlessness. He also holds a Kalpavriksha sprig, the Veena, a lotus blossom, flower bouquet, pot of jewels. So over here, Veena, so this is the Dharmapada. So in this, he is there with a Veena. Veena is Saraswati Veena, right? Saraswati is basically associated with knowledge of all the arts, musics, and literature, we might say. Music can be associated with mathematics also, so basically all the knowledge, right? So dharma, you need to get, it's about knowledge. It's about lotus. Why lotus over here? So if you have knowledge, nowadays we develop another head on top of our head, and we become so heavy with that knowledge that if we try to sit on this lotus, we will actually drown. So we should not be having those egos, and we should be willing to share this knowledge with others. Now the third one is a bouquet. Now bouquet of flowers. Now if anybody wants other person to understand dharma, then it's better you start by giving a flower bouquet. Flower bouquet also has, flowers have basically the smell also, right? So in a way, you try to develop a very positive connection with the people whom you are trying to make them understand their dharma, or you yourself trying to understand the dharma. You have been given this knowledge and also been given the jewels required for you. Okay. To get that, many times people say that, oh, I don't have the money to buy the books. I would tell them one thing: go to Google Books, okay, books.google.com. There are tons of books available, very pure books before 1900, 1950s, of all these topics over there, free of charge. You can download them, print them, and these are available for everybody. Vedas is for the human race, everybody. So in this first pada, now this is about dharma pada. So do we see any weapons in this form of Ganesha representing dharma pada? The clear answer is no. But the lion does symbolize strength and fearlessness, and he holds a kalpavriksha. So the depiction of basically a kalpavriksha, for those who don't know, is a vriksha which fulfills any of, if you are standing below it, any of your desires will be fulfilled. That is the short story about it. So this is the image that you are seeing on the left downside is the Kalpavriksha depiction in Ranakpur Jain temple. A very beautiful carving, and I think everybody should go over there, no matter what religion or whatever you are from, because this is actually showing you the wisdom for everybody. Why? Let's go to the next slide. So look